Hello, everybody. It's November 21st, Friday, November 21st. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario. I hope everybody's having a nice Friday night. So, not much going on today. Some interesting stuff going on today. Not a lot, but some interesting stuff. J.D. Vance had some choice comments about Canada and its leadership. Basically saying, stop blaming Trump for all your problems and look inward. And I've been saying that for a long time. So he's kind of echoing what I've been saying. That Canada was screwed way before Trump was reelected. But all of a sudden, like Doug Ford, politicians are saying it's all Trump's fault that Canada's screwed with his tariffs and all that. So I think it's funny that J.D. Vance he also criticized our open border mass immigration policy, globalist mass immigration policy destroying Canada. And he also, kind of in a related note, the U.S. State Department sent out a statement saying, the European, its allies, Western allies, he's talking about Europeans, UK, Germany, France, how they're, basically letting their countries get destroyed by mass immigration. So they're saying, we don't know how dependable allies these guys are going to be. And I'm sure he's referring to Canada too, especially Canada, because we're right next door to the States. And so they don't, they're starting to worry about our reliability, let's say. That's what, according to the State Department, I'm not saying, the States is perfect, and I agree with everything they say, but on this, it's true. Like, we're destroying the country. Europe's destroying itself. The States, I don't know, they got their problems as well. But it's pretty funny. I don't know why they're saying this all of a sudden. Like, it just come out of nowhere, or is there something more to it? Like, I think the more Canada's mismanaged, the more the state is noticing. I know for sure they don't respect our leaders and what they've done. But I don't know if they would go any further, like invade us just to say, hey, we're a national security risk. That's, I don't know how plausible that is, or if that would ever happen. But basically they think we're retarded for destroying our country, just like UK is and Germany is and France, just like destroying the country by letting all these crazy amounts of third world migrants. And I'm not hating on them, the migrants, but they're so much different from the European culture, the Canadian culture, that it's like you're destroying your country to let in all these people that, should be stay in their countries, fix their countries. And instead of, emptying into Europe and North America. Also, so that's the U.S. A lot of news out of the U.S. concerning us and Europe, because usually a U.S. politician never mentions Canada unless there's something going on, or now with the trade issue. But this thing, it was pretty undiplomatic. Not say diplomatic, but not diplomatic in the sense. He was pretty blunt. And then next, Chrystia Freeland. She was deputy prime minister. She was with Trudeau hand in hand, destroying the country and cheerleading for the Ukraine war. And now she's leaving. She was supposed to be some kind of envoy for Ukraine, but I don't think that's going to happen. Or maybe it is, I don't know. But now she's going to be the president of some Rhodes University, some society or whatever. And I read the article. She's probably going to resign her seat in the next couple months. So I say good riddance. She's a traitor. She called the Freedom Convoy Nazis. She ran the country into the ground with Trudeau, and who knows how much money they've stolen in the Ukraine war, 22 billion from Canada, and now they're talking. There could be close to a deal to end the war at Ukraine's expense, which we know all that was going to happen from the start. Just warmongers wanted to keep it going for how many years, especially under Joe Biden. So I criticize Trump a lot, but if he can stop this war and not go to World War III with Russia, despite all the desire of the neocon warmongers, if he can stop that, I'd approve. I'd give him a lot of credit, but I'm not holding my breath. But it sounds like something's happening. But it makes you wonder, like all that 22 billion that Canada sent is pretty well wasted, up in flames. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. A lot of money could have helped Canada, people in Canada. And then some local news. Some Indian dude who was creeping out girls at the local high school here in Sarnia. He was arrested, criminally charged. He was like touching them and trying to take pictures. Like, these are minors. They're not just women, catcalling women on the street, but they were minors at a high school. And some Indian dude, he's visiting here, I guess. And so he got arrested. Twice, actually, they arrested him for 2 different incidents. And now, I guess, he's getting deported. He's supposed to leave end of December or something, but he's going to leave early. So he was just visiting, I guess. He wasn't here, just come stay, apparently, or supposedly. So yeah, deport. We just got a few million more to deport. It's hard. Like, he was just here to visit, but definitely he should be deported and not let back into Canada. So yeah, a little local news there. All right, let's go to see the day that was on X, or in the news in general. All right. This is interesting. In Ontario, we have a lot of immigration stories, a lot of different angles of the immigration. So you got like refugees, then you got student visas, and then you got these guys who are OINP, which stands for Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. That's, I'm saying this like about immigration. There's like a million different programs and visa programs to get into Canada. Like, you got temporary foreign worker, you got the IMP, whatever, the IMP foreign worker, you got the student visas, you got this Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, and there's so many different ones. And like every province has different ones that coordinate with the federal government, I guess. So many different programs to get into Canada. And surprise, surprise, this Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program seems to be a lot of the same people from the same country, India, of course. I have no idea why we're so weighted towards India and immigration. Like, it should be spread out at the very least. It's so weighted. I mean, you don't even have to look at statistics. Look at your own eyes. Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, it's all Indians. And now they're canceling. I don't know if they're already here and they're canceling the program because they say it's all fraud. So it looks like they don't want to go back. They just don't want to go back. Let's see what this says. OINP protesters are inviting anyone to join them. They're protesting at Queen's Park, and they're inviting anyone to join them and have made food arrangements. They need to bribe others with free food. Let's see what they're saying here.
join us, that will be a great honor. Thank you. So hi again. Today we are here again at Ontario Legislative Building. We welcome all the people who have joined us again today. Even our own community members, they are coming to support us as our all demands are genuine. So we appreciate if new people have joined us. We welcome more people. We have all the arrangements here for food and everything. If anyone can come and join us, that will be a great honor. Thank you.
They really don't want to go
So
back
hi
to
again.
India.
Today we are here again at Ontario Legislative Building.
They don't want to go
We
back.
welcome all the people who have joined.
Okay. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be allowed to stay. I'm sure Carney will let them stay. Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program suspended nearly 2,680 of its express entry skilled trades stream, effective immediately, citing fraudulent and systemic misrepresentation. OINP applicants gathered in Toronto to protest against this decision. Support the workers who support Ontario. So they're basically saying, don't get rid of us because you need us. I don't know about that. All right. So we'll see how that goes. Doesn't look like they're going to have much. Hopefully they won't have much luck. All right. Next. Pierre Poilievre. I can't stand. This is my thing with politicians talking about building homes. It basically means they want to flood the country with immigrants, with like mass immigration, and the only problem is there's not enough housing. That's the only problem. Everything else is good. So when I see this, kind of stuff where, oh, he's got a hard hat on. When I see this politicians saying they're going to build homes, all I can think about is I want to let in millions of immigrants from the third world. That's what I hear. I don't hear build more homes. So here's Pierre Poilievre. Want to build more homes, get government out of the way, make building tax-free, unleash a construction boom, sign in to make it happen. I don't know what this means. So I say Pierre Poilievre keeps talking about building houses for the millions of invaders instead of deporting them. He still doesn't get it. And he's getting the same, if you look at the comments. So basically, why would we don't need to build millions of homes. I see tons of building going on. What they're saying is they need to build homes for all the immigrants they're going to let in. Even the conservatives. So here's building more homes to accommodate your mass immigration plans doesn't put Canadians first. We want remigration instead. Okay, mass remigration, problem solved. Coward. Less immigration, not more homes. That's the photo of Pierre in Alberta with all. Poor guy. All right. Kirk Lubomov. We don't have a home building issue. We have a mass immigration issue. Stop promising Calistanis direct flights into Canada and start standing up for Canada. It's 10 years of the Uniparty talking about housing, affordable middle class, and since then they've worked hard for migrants and more ways to import people in all forms. Then they pander only to those people. Those new homes are for new Canadians. Let's stop pretending. Let's see. It's basically the same. Like, he's getting... Okay. Look at Pierre. So you put a grift link in your tweet. Why? By the way, you lost and you keep losing and you keep living in our... Okay. Want to build more homes? No, I want millions of immigrants to go home. Alright. So you get the picture. Basically how I feel. Look, when I hear a politician saying we need to build more homes. Here, let's see what he says.
Friends, the promise of Canada and the affordability of Canada.
He's wearing a hard hat. I don't know why he's wearing a hard hat when he's talking, but maybe he's in the part where you have to have a hard hat.
My friends, the promise of Canada and the affordability of Canada is broken after 10 years of Liberals. Now, why is housing so expensive? Well, it's not your fault. The number one cost going into a new home today is not land, labor, or lumber. It's government. We have
So it's the government's the reason the house prices are so high, not the millions of immigrants that have come to Canada. It's a good thing Pierre is here to tell us this.
the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on. We should have to make all home building tax-free to get the GST, the HST off all homes under one.
That's the problem. That was the problem, not the millions of immigrants that have come to Canada. And you got all these millions of Indians. Obviously, they got the increased demand for housing because you got millions of immigrants coming. But also, they got this. They really drive the prices up because they do. A lot of these guys from India shouldn't have no business owning houses. Some of them own like 2 or 3 or 4 houses because they do some mortgage scam where the banks lend them the money when they shouldn't be. And what it does is it drives up the housing prices for everybody because, you got demand and offers and people buying houses left and right. But also, obviously the more people that need housing, the prices goes up, the rent prices go up. But Pierre's blaming it on the government, taxes and regulation. That's so disingenuous. It's like people are seeing through this. Like even just only his true believers are left to defend Pierre. I think he's toast when he's so blind and putting out stuff like this. And like the mood is not for building houses. Like unless you're an Indian immigrant and you want a house, yeah, build a house. But the mood is deporting people and not letting as many people in every year. And he's talking about building a house. Anyway, it's tone deaf as far as I'm concerned. And judging by the comments, people couldn't care less about government building homes. I hate when they do these commercials. And, governments aren't really supposed to build homes. They're just supposed to run the country efficiently so everybody can afford to build their own home or buy a home that's already built. But no, they can't even do that. So, all right, here we back onto this OYNP people. Or is it the same people? Yeah. Let's see. They're protesting too. I don't know if these are the same people that were Let's see what she's saying. Oh God.
I'm having a 10-year-old as well.
Yeah, the
So
skilled
he was there
trades
with
one.
me in the last protest. He is sick today. He's having fever. We don't have a health card for him. And
Oh.
I'm not worried to go back to India, but I'm worried about my son because he is here with me right from my study. So it will be difficult for him to go back
Oh.
and get into the system.
Comes to tears.
He is in grade 5 right now. So back in India, he may have to go and sit in a very lower grade, maybe grade 3 or grade 2. So I'm just worried about my kids because he is having a lot of friends over here. I don't have that many friends.
Okay.
And so many connections. So we have followed all the rules and requirements of the skilled trade express entry system. Okay, we'll accept our mistake and we'll keep quiet. But this is like we don't know what went wrong with our file. That is the only demand
Look at them all.
we are having right now. Take up individual file and please tell us what went wrong. What is it? If they don't find anything wrong in our file, and please give us the decision. Give us the nomination so we can move forward with our life. That's all I have to say. So please open up our file and take a decision on our file. Please.
All right. I'm not. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see if what they do with these guys. It looks like if nothing changes, they're going back. And Ruts Ryan, why did these people make permanent decisions on a temporary basis? On temporary status, because they thought they could game the system. Yeah, like they had no intention of leaving from start. Like they came here. This program actually, the OYNP, it actually is like a path to permanent residence. So they come, they work, and they apply for permanent residence. But so like they never, even with student visas, even with temporary foreign workers, all of them, their intention is to stay permanently, which is weird. Like not many countries, like if you go to like Korea to get on a to work as an English teacher, they give you a visa for a year. There's no misconception. There's no understanding at all that you're going to stay forever. You're there for a year and that's it. But in Canada, it's like you get a visa, student visa or temporary, it's like they expect to stay forever. It's such a weird mindset. And I think the government has encouraged it through, obviously, they give out passports like it's Halloween candy. Now they don't want to go back. They thought they were here forever. Look at them. They're all from India. Like, what the hell? Like, there's no... I thought diversity was our strength. That doesn't look like diversity to me. And, but nobody... You're not allowed to ask that question. It's like, why are all these people from India? Like, or the most, like, the majority of them. So, but yeah, you're not allowed to ask that. So we'll see if they stay or not. All right. On the international front here, we got Ukraine. A lot of news out saying this thing they finally might come to some kind of peace deal. Here's Zelensky's message regarding the peace deal that will be signed next week. So yeah, I will believe it. Hopefully they do sign a deal. That'd be great. Let's see what he says here. Well, I don't speak Ukrainian, so this is subtitles.
Зараз тиск на Україну один з найважчих. Зараз Україна може опинитися перед дуже
I gotta
складним.
read this.
Зараз
All
один
right.
з найважчих моментів нашої історії. Зараз тиск на Україну один з найважчих. Зараз Україна може опинитися перед дуже складним вибором. Або втрата гідності, або ризик втрати ключового партнера. Або складні 28 пунктів, або вкрай важка зима. Найважча та подальші ризики. Національний український інтерес має бути врахований. Ми не робимо гучних заяв, ми будемо спокійно працювати з Америкою та усіма партнерами. Буде конструктивний пошук рішень з нашим головним партнером.
I don't want to listen to
Я
all
буду
this.
наводити аргументи, я буду...
So, hopefully that war ends, but we've already given $22 billion to that. We had Freeland, we had Trudeau telling us Slava Ukrainian, saying how we got to fight Russia, and we were getting on a war footing with Russia, and we still might be. They still might try and go to war with Russia, but hopefully they sign some kind of deal to, because right now you're at a very dangerous one like incident away from like a full-out war with Russia, which is not, it's obviously not good. So, but the Canadian leadership, and this is including Pierre Poilievre, has been rooting for this war the whole time. Not one of them, especially the opposition, Pierre, has said anything about diplomacy. All they want is war with Russia, our leadership. And they wasted over $20 billion on this guy. And there's a bunch of scandals, like of money being stolen, like we're talking like hundreds of millions, at least, or I heard 100 million. But who knows what else, weapons, black market, sent to the black market, and all sorts of corrupt. I mean, it was listed as the most corrupt country in Europe for a reason. But we sent them 22 billion. So we'll see what happens there. Here's JD Vance. He wanted to talk about Canada today. I don't know. Takes a shot at CBC and Canada's immigration insanity. All right, let's see what he says here. Okay. We'll read his actual tweets. But he made the news today in Canada. All right. Here's the Ukraine thing. U.S. peace plan calls on Ukraine to give up land. Receives negative reaction from Kiev. Of course, it's the Globe and Mail. Okay. Here's Maxime Bernier, and he's been pretty consistent. Maxime Bernier's been consistent on this war from the start. It says Russia's winning this war. I've been saying it since 2022. Russia is not our enemy, and the West should never have gotten involved by sending money and weapons and imposing sanctions that had no effect on the Russian economy but backfired on us. Trump understands this and is probably taking advantage of the latest major corruption scandal undermining the Zelensky government to force a settlement. In addition to suffering massive destruction and pointless deaths of hundreds of thousands of its soldiers and civilians, Ukraine will have to concede everything. And those who supported this disaster and wasted billions to fund it in Western capitals like the Liberals and Conservatives in Ottawa will end up looking like morons and losers. Yes, basically exactly what I've been saying. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the thing that bugs me is, like, I understand the Liberals, or I guess, I don't know, they supported this war wholeheartedly, but the Conservatives, carbon copy policy on Ukraine. If anything, the Conservatives wanted to do more. Give them more weapons. And more money, if anything. So, yeah, Pierre, he can't differentiate himself on the immigration. He can't differentiate. He has no credibility on the immigration. Now he has no credibility on this. So I think the knives will be out for that guy. All right. That's Ukraine. Lots going on in Ukraine. That's going to be the next big story next week. It's time to end this globalist war. Yes. The globalists in Canada are going to be so upset. All right. Here's Kirk Lubomov. It's time for Canada to designate the Khalistani movement as a terrorist group. They openly promote assassination of our politicians and allies, and their supporters, members have direct ties to organized crime. Canada needs to stop being the dumping ground for the world's garbage. Ooh. Designate them, remove citizenship, and start deportation. Yeah, I can't stand these guys, man. I don't know how they get away with this, going to a different country and doing that. Like, that's kind of the whole opposite of what you're supposed to be doing when you go immigrate. Not supposed to do politics of your foreign country. Like, if you want to do positive, engage in politics in Canada, where the country you're supposed to be living, as long as, like, it's legal and you're not doing anything crazy, like threatening people, political violence or anything. But why would you be allowed to bring a foreign separatist movement to Canada? That makes no sense. And Pierre and the Liberals both court this group for votes instead of kicking them out of Canada. It's crazy. Even Pierre the other day compared these guys to Quebec separatists. These guys blew up an airplane. And they got guns, and they'd use them on whoever they needed to, even us. If they wanted to take Saskatchewan for their own province or some, like, why are they here? I scratched my head in the States too. But here, they actually have political power here, like with our leaders. They need to be disavowed. Get out. Okay. Next, and that's probably why the States is criticizing us. Like, the State Department is criticizing countries that allow this kind of stuff to happen. There's the State Department here. Mass migration poses an existential threat to Western civilization and undermines the stability of key American allies. Today, the State Department instructed U.S. embassies to report on the human rights implications and public safety impacts of mass migration. It says, it's a human rights concern. Western nations have endured crime waves, terror attacks, sexual assaults, and the displacement of communities. U.S. officials will urge governments to take bold action and defend citizens across against the threats posed by mass migration. Okay. Officials will also report policies that punish citizens who object to continued mass migration and document crimes and human rights abuses committed by people of a migration background. So basically they're referring to like the censorship laws, like, you know, in the UK when you get arrested for a Facebook post against immigration, which is coming to Canada too. So the states is saying, hey, we're gonna monitor this. We're not happy with this. It's weird that they put this out. They must think it's worth mentioning. Like they want to lead the Western nations now, the states, away from this. So they're talking about the UK, but I know they're talking about the UK, Sweden, Germany, all the rapes and sexual assaults and crime. U.S. supports the sovereignty of our allies and calls on governments to constructively engage with the growing number of citizens concerned about mass migration. Like me. United States stands ready to assist our allies in solving the global crisis of mass migration. Very interesting. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. But they're really talking about a lot of people in Canada because, like, people here haven't been allowed to discuss immigration for last 10 years because you'd be basically fired or called racist or ostracized. Now you're starting to get away with it thanks to Elon a little bit on the X. And now in response, the government's threatening all this hate speech legislation and whatever. So it's very kind of heartening to see the State Department. I don't know what their motive is though. They must not, like they say, we're not reliable if we're going to turn your country into a third world shithole. I guess that makes sense. They don't want to be bordered by a country that turned into a third world shithole. So I wonder if they'll invade us. Are we going to be invaded? Because they don't really talk about a country unless they're going to invade them. No, I'm just kidding. Save us from ourselves, maybe. So here's J.D. Vance's one of his. So he was responding to a graph. It says what happened in Canada. This is some analyst. What happened in Canada will be studied by many historians and economists as the prime example of self-destruction of an otherwise prosperous nation after blindly following left ideology. The woke, open borders, DAI. Look at Canada's living standards growth is even worse than Britain's. So Canada is the blue, yeah. GDP per person. It's horrible. Look how low we are compared to the US. We're just below the UK and we're way below the US. Horrible mismanagement. And we have so many resources and there's no reason for this. So here's JD reacting to that tweet. While I'm sure the causes are complicated, no nation has leaned more into diversity as our strength. We don't need a melting pot. We have a salable immigration insanity than Canada. It has the highest foreign-born share of the population in the entire G7, and its living standards have stagnated. Yes, I agree. I've been saying this, so it's nice to see they're noticing. But like I said, they might say we gotta step in to prevent this from happening. They don't want this. They see what's happening. So it's very interesting that he's saying this stuff because I totally agree with all of it. They destroyed Canada. The damage is going to take, if it can even be fixed, it's going to take years, decades maybe. All right. And look in Canada, what we got? The military. This is a weird story. The military plans for a volunteer force to defend Canada. I don't know what the hell. I said, I have a bad feeling about this. They destroyed Canada. How are they going to defend Canada? Okay. Faced with rising threats from competing states and climate change. Climate change. Climate change. Defend against climate change. All right. Faced with rising threats from competing states and climate change, top military minds in the Canadian Armed Forces are drafting a plan to bolster the nation's defenses by creating a civil force made up of 300,000 volunteers. I would volunteer if they gave me a big gun and let me take it home. The unclassified document was distributed by the Strategic Joint Staff, the internal group that provides military advice and analysis. All right. An ominous warning is embedded in the opening lines. Rising threats fueled by accelerating technologies present urgent, simultaneous, and unparalleled challenges to Canada's ability to defend itself. Global security has been dramatically affected by the rise of strategic competition among states, combined with the growing frequency and intensity of natural disasters linked to climate change. So the plan calls for a whole of society approach in order to assure the defense of Canada against domestic threats ranging from low intensity natural disaster response to high intensity large scale combat operations. Are aliens coming or something? Also, maybe it's the US they want to defend it. This sets a target of boosting the number of reservists from 30,000 to 100,000 and recruiting 300,000 volts. Okay. Alright. I want to see what it says. Those who join the civil defense would face less restrictive age limits and meet lower physical and fitness requirements. Of course. This is crazy. So, civilian army, basically. I just want to see if they say anything about... I'm sure they'll offer it to all the PR people. Say, hey, this will get you your passport. Or the people trying to get PR, they'll say, this will get your PR. Yeah, that's gonna... They can't even recruit the regular army. Oh, it's gonna be a joke. It sounds a little suspicious what they're up to. Alright. Here's Wiretap Media. I've become a political orphan. Canada deserves a political party that doesn't insult our intelligence. This is a good video, and he's saying how, how outraged the Conservatives were about this budget and this government in general, and how horrible they're going to destroy Canada. And then they blame the NDP for abstaining, even though they abstained, and they were planning on abstaining no matter what to prevent an election. So he's saying basically the Conservatives are a bunch of liars. I agree with him. Let's see. I'm not going to watch this whole thing, but some of it's pretty good.
This is exactly why I'd become a political orphan and refuse to support the Conservative Party.
Budget 2025-2026 passes. Roland Baber, Conservative Member of Parliament. 2 NDP abstentions means Carney's budget is passing with $78 billion in deficits. Almost 500,000 people are getting immigration amnesty. That's either asylum seekers or refugee claimants.
Now, for Roland Babar to shift the blame over to the NDP is dishonest at best, but this whole circus that Poilievre and his thugs created around Budget 2025...
There are moments in the nation's life, Madam Speaker, when people look to our leaders.
Okay, sounds like
applause lines, corporate buzzwords, social media clips, but for honesty, humility, seriousness. They look to this chamber and ask, Whether those entrusted with power truly understand the weight of the burdens on the shoulders of the people.
More importantly, if you're a Canadian looking at this who has been struggling to put food on the table, who's been struggling to put a roof over their head, who has been struggling with the affordability of everyday life, there is nothing in this budget for you.
Nothing.
That now under Mark Carney, more of your tax dollars going to pay the interest on that debt than on healthcare. That's not sustainable.
Our party wanted an affordable budget for an affordable life. And on behalf of all the Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, or house themselves because of liberal inflation, we Conservatives cannot support this costly Liberal budget.
But they did. They did.
Is easily one of the most dishonest
Very
and
dishonest.
disrespectful things I've seen come out of that camp since Poilievre took over the party. Now, obviously, the abstained NDP votes played a factor, but for optics, the Conservatives made it appear as if they were opposed to the bill, when in reality they needed it to pass so that they didn't get slaughtered in an election. And that's exactly why Andrew Scheer and the other Conservative member were both hiding behind the curtain, waiting for the votes to be tallied before they came out onto the floor and tried to sell to Canadians that their electronic app wasn't working.
The honorable.
All right, so you get the point.
Opposition.
Basically, what he's saying, I totally agree with him too. It's just, they're just so disingenuous. It's just like the building houses thing. They just don't get it. They're just liberals. They're basically the same as liberals, just instead of destroying the country quick, they do it with the speed limit, by the speed limit. So there's frustration growing in the Conservative Party. I could see it. I could see there being like kind of like the factions between let's say the nationalist minded voter base and then the kind of the progressive conservative voter base. There's got to be there's going to be a rupture maybe, I don't know, like, because if you keep losing elections, something's not working here. But they don't get it. They just don't get it. It's going to take a collapse, like the one in the Conservative Party in the UK collapsed because they didn't listen to their voters, or they didn't listen to their base. They're trying to be all things to everybody. So yeah, I think the Conservatives are big trouble. Okay, next, here's another JD Vance. He's talking about Trump this time. And with all he's saying about Canada blaming Trump for everything. With all due respect to my Canadian friends whose politics focus obsessively on the United States, your stagnating living standards have nothing to do with Donald Trump or whatever boogeyman the CBC tells you to blame. He even hates the CBC, which is cool. The fault lies with your leadership elected by you. Yeah, I totally agree. I've been saying this since Trump started the tariff stuff when he got elected. So Canada was destroyed long before Trump talked about tariffs, said the word tariff. But Doug Ford used it to win another majority in Ontario. I don't know why the people fell for it, but they did. And Carney used it to win election at the federal level. So it's horrible. It's horrible. Instead of taking care of your problems and not blaming others, all they did is blame Trump. And we'll see how it ends. We'll see how we'll see how this leadership of ours ends. All right, here's Chrystia Freeland. She's jumping ship. She's getting out. She helped destroy Canada. Now she's getting out. So she'll be moving to the UK after being named CEO of Rhodes Trust, the global educational charity, as confirmed. So I read the story. They say she's, I don't know, ready for I think she's jumping ship. She's a snake. she probably knows the jig is up for her here in Canada. She can't even walk the streets in Canada, really, without people yelling at her and calling her a traitor. So she's going to the UK. She's a globalist, so, you know, Rhodes, whatever, trust, sounds like just right up her alley. And she's an MP right now. And she said she's going to talk to her riding and resign her seat. It's a pretty safe Liberal seat, so I don't think it'll affect the makeup of the House of Commons. They usually put like a star candidate in there, or a high-profile candidate. This is in Toronto. But good riddance. See ya, traitor. Like, look at her. She's a witch. And she's supposed to be this Canada's Ukraine envoy or whatever, but it looks like that's not going to go on because of the peace deal, and she's not going to be an MP. So, but good riddance. See you later, traitor. We got rid of Trudeau, now her, but I mean, we still got Carney, we still got Pierre, we still got Doug Ford. So it's not like things are actually going to change because Chrystia Freeland's left, but it's still a good thing because she is a traitor. Good riddance, traitor. All right. Investigate Chrystia Freeland. Yes, I agree. Everybody's saying the same thing. Good riddance. I prefer to see her behind bars for what she did during COVID. I can't stand listening to her talk. They picked a winner. That's funny. Look at those. Arrogant, condescending witch. Rob Ford moving with Freeland to the UK. That would be super for Ontario. Yeah. Him and Freeland were buddies too. Alright. She's just a horrible little person. Alright. This is her, yeah. I don't know if she's wearing that. Alright. So that's Chrystia Freeland. Alright. And then we got Michelle Rempel Garner. Michelle Rempel Garner says she plans to propose changes to speed up the deportation of non-citizens if they are convicted of a crime or if their pre-removal risk assessment isn't successful. So, I mean, she's the conservative critic for immigration. She's been saying good stuff, I guess, but I mean, this stuff should have been said years ago. And we got big problems now. It's like, I think now more radical actions than this are needed to fix the mess caused by open border mass migration. So, I mean, it's good that the conservatives are saying stuff, but it doesn't mean anything. They should have said it when it counted, like during the last 2-3 elections. But they wanted that vote too. They wanted the immigrant vote. So it's just disingenuous. I think they have no credibility on the immigration file. Like Michelle Rempel Garner, she was calling people racist. She was calling Maxime Bernier racist for criticizing immigration. Now she's just gonna stop it. All right, here we got Sean Fraser. Who is he? He's the Justice Minister. Reaching for the notwithstanding clause on issues affecting kids should concern us all. Trans kids are kids, and they deserve safety, compassion, and the freedom to be themselves. And yeah, okay. And with tariffs looming and families under real pressure, our focus should be on helping people. So, yeah. He's the Justice Minister, isn't he? Yeah, Minister of Justice. So this is Justice Minister. I said to him, I can't stand these guys. No such thing as trans kids. Stop promoting mental illness to minors. Like, seriously, man, it's Trans Week or something. I don't even know what the hell that is. But he's talking about Danielle Smith. He's doing something to stop the transing of kids in Alberta, or at least that's what they say she's doing, and using the notwithstanding clause. So, yeah. We still got the woke DEI trans, LGBTQ, mental illness, woke leaders in Canada. Even the States, it's not as in vogue now in the States because of Donald Trump, but in Canada it's still going strong with guys like this, Sean Fraser. This guy's destroyed everything he touches. He destroyed housing as a housing minister. He destroyed immigration as immigration minister, and I'm sure he'll destroy justice as justice minister. He'll be 3 for 3. All right. And here's another traitor, Mark Miller. He's praising the bill restoring citizenship for lost Canadians. Bill restoring citizenship for lost Canadians becomes law. CBC News. Let's see what this bill. Look at this. Mark Miller, he's Trudeau's buddy. He's a total globalist like Carney, and they just love filling up the country. Disaster for Canada. They love filling up the country with foreigners. They love it. So what's this? So this is funny because this is because of a court. A judge made the government do this. So what's it say? Lost Canadians legislation, which aims to fix Canada's unconstitutional citizenship by dissent rules, passed in the Senate Wednesday and received royal assent Thursday afternoon. The term refers to people who were born outside of the country to Canadian parents who were also born in another country. So basically, if people who get Canadian passport and then leave and have kids in like India, have like 10 kids, so basically, let's see what happened here. In 2009, the federal government changed the law so that the Canadians born abroad could only pass down their citizenship if their child was born in Canada. But that was deemed unconstitutional by the Ontario Superior Court in December 23. So a judge overruled the government, saying, "Oh, that's unconstitutional." This is ridiculous. In 2023, this happened. The Superior Court ruled it was unconstitutional. I don't know why judges are interfering in the immigration. They shouldn't be interfering in immigration. They shouldn't be interfering in immigration, but they are. Okay. The legislation proposed Canadian citizenship could be passed down to people born abroad beyond the first generation if the parents spent a cumulative 3 years in Canada before the child's birth or adoption. So basically they had to live in Canada for 3 years as citizens, I guess. Or no. It doesn't even say, I don't know if that means you stay in Canada as a citizen or as a temporary resident. Okay. I don't know what that means. Saskatchewan Senator David Arnott argued the bill unfairly applies a substantial connection test to inter-country adoptees when it comes to passing down citizenship. This is a legal term that applies to adopted children who were born abroad and raised in Canada by Canadian parents. I don't know what that means. Okay. What the hell? Okay. I don't know why it goes to adoptees. Okay. So, anyway, the bottom line is they said in 2009 your kids can't automatically become Canadians if they're not born in Canada. And then a judge overruled it. And now the Liberals did a new law that would that would correspond with the judge's ruling, and which it's going to make tons and tons of Canadian citizens that weren't born here. Like, it's going to be chain migration, basically. But Mark Miller's celebrating it because they're traitors. And this guy's saying, here's this Canadian Border Services Agency he was saying how refugees could just check into Canada using an app, but now the Canadian Border Agency is saying that's not true. Who knows? And here's another thing I saw here. India accounts for 11% of the world's road traffic deaths, despite having only 1% of the world's vehicles. Look at that. Ooh. Boom. Holy shit. Took them all out. And I said, that would explain all the carnage on Canadian roads. I mean, I hear every day now people getting run over, hit and runs, or like people dying in accidents. Like, I know there's always been accidents, but it just seems like there's a lot more lately. Motorcycles getting killed. I wonder if it has something to do with a bunch of third world drivers who aren't used to driving. Okay. Oh, here's the Sarnia story. Our local perv is being deported. Man will be deported to India after criminally harassing Sarnia teens. Let's read this quick. This will be the last story. He was visiting Canada on a temporary visa to see his newborn grandchild. Okay, a 51-year-old man from India visiting Canada on a temporary visa has been convicted of criminally harassing two teenage girls outside of Sarnia High School and will be deported and banned from coming back to the country. Jagjit Singh, who's living in the Sarnia area while visiting his newborn grandchild, was also given a short jail sentence. You had no business attending at the property of that high school. This type of conduct will not be tolerated. This is the judge. Singh, who arrived in Canada in July on a 6-month visa, frequented the smoking area of a Sarnia High School between September 8th and 11th. In that time, he approached young girls and repeatedly tried to communicate with and take pictures of them. So basically, he was creeping on high school girls. You mean that's not allowed here? That's what he's saying. So yeah, they're going to deport him now. We just need to... Alright. Alright. We need to deport. It's a good start. We deported the one guy. Now we just need to deport a few million more. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, he thought, oh, this is probably normal here. I can do this. That's what they do in India. I mean, anyway. So, a little good news. I'm sure maybe a judge will, you never know with these judges. But the judges are the ones who overturn all the laws that we're trying to, to prevent this kind of stuff. But anyway. So that's it for today, I guess. That's all the... So yeah, interesting stuff with J.D. Vance. We'll see if he keeps mentioning Canada, how awful this country's being run. They're starting to notice. They're noticing down there. All right. So that's it for tonight. The next broadcast will be tomorrow, November 22nd. We'll see what crazy stuff happens. Until then, have a nice night.